All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning for Structuring Your Business. We're going to get started here in just another minute. I just wanted to go over with you guys a couple of things. Later today, you will get an email from SCORE Akron that has the slides and the recording so that you have a copy of it. And then also throughout and at the end of the workshop, Al will be able to answer questions for you. You can type them into the Q&A. You can raise your hand to speak directly, or you can even type it in the chat. So with all that said, I will introduce you to Al. Good morning, Al.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to be here on such a beautiful day, summer day. Thank you for joining. I love questions as we go along because then we talk about things that are important to you. So I'll take questions at any time. As Laura said, type them into the chat and we'll answer them as we go along. And at the end, I'll stick around to answer questions that you may have individually. And if you have a question in your mind, remember that you're probably not the only one that has that question. So be brave and ask the question so we can answer it. Our agenda for today is to first talk about SCORE. So I have to give the commercial first. Talk about small businesses and why they're so important. And then how do you structure those businesses? SCORE is a national organization. We're a resource partner of the SBA, the Small Business Administration. We have about 10,000 volunteers spread over 200 chapters across every one of these 50 states. And what we find is that clients that work with us have a greatly improved chance of success. Locally, there's 40 of us that we serve the 5-county area of Portage, Medina, Summit, Wayne, and Mahoning counties. And since we started in Akron in 1965, we've helped over 50,000 clients in one way or another. To just answer questions or start a business or grow their business or whatever has to do with small business. SCORE's mission is to help small businesses, and we do it through mentoring and education. And our vision is that every person, every business has the support they need to thrive. That's a bold vision. We've been at it since 1964, believe it or not. We haven't got there yet, but that's our vision, that every person has the support that they need to thrive. As I said, we do two things. We do mentoring, counseling, business advice, consulting, whatever term you like. It's one-on-one, it's free, and definitely confidential between you and your mentor or advisor. We like to do it face-to-face, but we've done it by Zoom. We'll do it by phone, whatever suits you best. Sometimes people call us and have a question. It's one meeting, we're done. I have clients that I've been working with for the last 12 years. So it depends on what you need. We're all about here to help you. As you think about your mentor or your counselor or advisor, think about a coach. They're your business coach, and a great coach never touches the ball. They send the players in to do that. They may yell plays from the bench. They may design the playbook, but they don't actually run the plays, the player's job. So your job in your business is to actually do the business of whatever it is, and we'll guide you, coach you, yell from the bench, whatever it takes to make you successful. We also do workshops. We do them all various times. Starting your own business is one. Legally structuring your business is one we're doing today. We do not-profit basics, marketing, financing, all kinds of things. So if you check out our website, which is at akron.score.org, you can find what's happened, what's coming up. You can register right online, right then, right there. And if you decide that you would like to have an advisor, a mentor, a coach, you can find one at akron.score.org or call our office. And as Laura said, you're going to get a copy of the slides, so you don't need to write this down. Small business, why is it important? Because in the US, there are over 27 million small businesses in the US, and over 600,000 start every year. And they're representing 99.8% of all business based on their employer identification number. EIN, as you know, is the Social Security number, tax ID for a business. And so 99.8% of all businesses in the US are small businesses. And small businesses create over 75% of new jobs. Not lay them off, hire them back again. That doesn't count. It's got to be a brand new job. And small businesses create the majority of new jobs in the US. And they're usually local, they're usually small, they employ local people, they're good for the local economy. It's really a win-win for a small business in a community. Okay, let's talk about the legal structure overview. There are really only 4 different kinds of structures. There's a bootleg structure, there's personal ownership, there's corporate ownership, and there's not-for-profit. And that's a separate webinar we go into in great detail on not-for-profit. So this morning we're going to talk about for-profit businesses. And as you think about deciding on what structure you want, the only 2 things that matter are legal liability, which what happens if the wheels come off the bus, and how you pay your taxes. So those are the only 2 things that matter in your decision-making process. So let's take that one by one. Bootleg business, you may have had a lemonade stand. I had a Kool-Aid stand in front of my house. Mom bought the Kool-Aid. I mixed it up. Mom bought the cups. I put the money in my pocket. Nobody was the wiser. Nobody cared because I was selling lemonade on the corner. If you get a little bigger than that, then you probably need to have a formal structure. Because if you're bootleg, you have to fly under the radar. You've got to be a cash business. You don't pay any taxes, and the risk is all on you. If anything goes wrong, it's all on you. You can't go public, can't have shares, you can't have investors. And if you get caught, always big trouble. You've heard people taking money under the table. You do that at your own risk. And as far as SCORE is concerned, it is definitely not recommended. So be legal. The first form of legal structure would be personal ownership. And that comes in the form of either a sole proprietorship or a general partnership with multiple partners. With a partnership, you can have an unlimited number of partners. With a sole proprietorship, that's just you. You can add partners at any time. So when you form it, you got to think about forming it either as a sole proprietorship or a partnership. The partners or the owners, the partners are the owners, are legally responsible if wheels come off the bus. All of them. So if you're a partner in a firm, something goes wrong, you're personally responsible for whatever legal damages there might be. And that's fine because it's an easy way to start a business. If it's a low risk business, that's just fine. So my favorite example is I had a piano teacher, and she would come to your house and teach piano lessons to your children in your piano in your living room. And not much going to go wrong there. So she had a sole proprietorship. And that worked just fine for her. It was a great way. The tax implications, the owner pays the taxes on their personal tax, their 1040. It's only single taxation, so you only pay taxes once. It doesn't get any easier than that. So if you're a relatively simple business with relatively low risk, a sole proprietorship or a partnership is absolutely one that might be right for you. So any questions on personal ownership, sole proprietorship, or partnerships?
Any questions, anyone? You can type them in the chat or raise your hand. No questions, Al.
Okay. So the other option for legal structure is corporate ownership. Corporate ownership comes in an LLC, a limited liability corporation, S Corp, and a C Corp, and we'll talk about each of those. In terms of legal liability, the corporation takes total responsibility and shields you from the outside world. So the owners in a corporation are fully protected as long as they keep the ownership of the business separate from their personal ownership. And this is really the best of all worlds because it's a very simple legal structure, but it's the best if there's any risk involved. So come back to my piano teacher. She decided that if the students came to her house, she could see a lot more students. She could teach a lot more kids to play piano because she wouldn't be spending a lot of her time traveling around. But now the kids are coming into her house. The parents are walking up her front steps, slipping on her walk in the wintertime on the ice and the snow, parking in her driveway, and maybe possibly slipping in her driveway. So now there's legal liability involved. So she then formed an LLC for her piano teaching business, and that protects her from any legal liability. With any corporate structure, the taxes can get complicated. They don't have to. And it's possible you might pay taxes twice. So we'll talk about that. But the reduced risk may well be worth it to you just to protect yourself from any legal liability. One form of a corporation is the S corporation. I like to think of it as a simple corporation. You can have up to 100 owners or shareholders. The shareholders must be US citizens. Therefore, you can't have any foreign ownership, which is usually not a problem for people here in the US. You raise your money through the sale of stock. You must have a board of directors. So now it gets a little more complicated because you now have a board of directors. It's subject to single taxation because it's called pass-through. In other words, the income from the S corp passes directly to the shareholders, does not pay taxes in the middle, and each of the shareholders gets a portion of that income based on their percentage of ownership. There can be a bunch of administration if there's a lot of shareholders to dole out that money and get it right, and handle all the expenses that go with that, and divvy that up among a number of shareholders. And if they're shareholders, they may want to see an audit. They want to make sure that nobody's cooking the books. So although it's not mandatory with an S corporation, it would be really smart business. So now you're incorporating a little more cost into your business because you've got the administration, you've got the audit, you've got providing tax information to each and every shareholder. So it's a little more complicated, which means maybe you're going to need an accountant also. So it's a little more costly. Could be. Another form is the C corporation. This is the one you hear about all the time. This is a General Motors or a Maytag or a Ford or any of your large businesses, because they have an unlimited number of shareholders or owners. They can also have international shareholders. So if you're General Motors, you do business in Europe and the US and all over the world, you can have shareholders in Europe, US, and all over the world. Funds are raised through the sale of stock. And again, a board of directors here is mandatory because the board of directors represents the shareholders. Now you have a significant amount of administration, and oh, lucky you have oversight by the federal government. The Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, has oversight. So there's all kinds of reporting that's required for them. There's a mandatory annual audit that has to be provided to the shareholders. And it's possibly there's going to be double taxation. In other words, the corporation first pays taxes on its income, then it distributes what's left over to the shareholders, and they pay taxes on the personal income. So with a C corporation, you get double taxed. And for a very large corporation, because they have an unlimited number of shareholders, it's worth that administrative cost. If you're a small company, certainly I wouldn't personally recommend it. And then what I believe for a small business is the best of all worlds is the LLC, or the Limited Liability Corporation. The owners are called members, and the members then are the owners. Funds are raised by the members, so they all kick in. It's the best of all worlds for a small business. You get the full corporate veil protection, right? There's only single taxation. You can't really go public. You have to bring people on, not as shareholders, but as members. And it may not be right for you if you want to do business internationally, but the taxes, again, are the simplest, and you get the full corporate veil protection of a corporation. So in summary, there's only two things that really matter, and that's legal liability and how you pay your taxes. So sole proprietorship is just you. General partnership is you and some of your other partners. The LLC, the Limited Liability Corporation, has members. It can have just you as a member, or you can have multiple members. So it could function like a partnership. The S corporation, which is limited in terms of who can own it and how many shareholders you can have. And then the C corporation, which you can have as many shareholders you want, do business internationally, but there's a lot of bookwork involved with that. And the bootleg corporation, the bootleg operation, which is definitely not recommended. So that is how simple it can be. It isn't complicated. We have clients at SCORE that form corporations or sole proprietorships all the time. And it's very easy to do, and it's relatively inexpensive. So I will stop, take a breath, take a sip of coffee, and answer questions at this point. And I will stick around until the last question gets answered.
All right, everybody. Go ahead and type in your questions or raise your hand if you want to ask some direct questions.
Fire away.
Fire away.
Or if you have no questions, you can leave. Class dismissed.
This is one of our shortest workshops.
We want to make it simple. That's what SCORE does. It make you starting a business, growing a business, building a business as simple as possible, because it doesn't have to be complicated.
So far, no questions, Al. We'll wait a couple more minutes in case anybody's typing.
I'm good, but I don't think I'm that good. My word.
All right, Al. Well, it looks like, oh, I got a raised hand. Hold on. Oh,
Okay.
maybe not. Let's see. Aisha, do you want to ask a question?
Apparently not. That's
Yeah.
okay.
There
Hello?
she is. Hi.
I'm dealing with my technology and everybody can laugh now.
No, we get it. We totally get it.
If I give a presentation or a service internationally and I'm an LLC, am I an international person or just, I mean, because I'm not, what does it mean doing business there? You know, I'm not setting up a camp or a service over there, not yet. But if I give, if 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 someone in another country asked me to give a presentation, would I need to change my business structure in doing so?
No.
Oh,
No.
that's a good answer. I like that.
Well, it's easy.
Not
The
complicated.
if you decided to set up a subsidiary in another country or in Canada, now you're doing business. Now you are actually have a business internationally. Now you have a problem. Okay. But you can buy and sell goods and services from the comfort of your home internationally with an LLC, and that's fine. It's just if you actually set up a business in another country, then that's a problem. All right.
So a subsidiary, what is that?
Well, let's say I have a business in Canada, and I'm doing the same thing you're doing, and you decide to merge with me. But actually, I merge with you, so I work under your umbrella of your LLC. So I'm doing business in Canada as a subsidiary of your company. You own me. I'm just doing business in Canada. That could be a problem with an LLC.
So if that were the case, what kind of structure would I need to have?
You would probably need to think about a C corporation or having a separate company in that other country. And I would recommend if you want to do business, have a business in another country, that you start that business in that country. That would be a lot easier than trying to do it here. You could be an owner, but you would start it in another country.
So would it be called the same here, an LLC there?
It would depend on the country.
Is there a score?
Every country regulates it differently. So In Germany, it might be a GmbH. In the UK, it might be a limited. So that's out of my bailiwick. If you really want to do that, I would suggest you find yourself an international lawyer that has experience in doing that. And you may not even find one in the US. You may have to go into the country if you're doing business in to find an expert to set up a corporation or a business in that foreign country.
So I've only given presentations as a there someplace, you know, if I've gone there. So you said that's just fine.
That's fine. You're not the home base for your business is where you would do the billing. It's where you would collect your funds. So you're fine with an LLC.
Very good. Thank you. Is general liability insurance, is that like your piano teacher getting general liability for her home? That's not a structure problem. I don't know.
The answer is your homeowner's insurance does not cover your doing business in your home. So if something goes wrong with the business, your homeowner's insurance won't cover it. The same way with your car insurance, your regular car insurance won't cover you if you're using your car to do business. The distinction is if you're using your car to make money, your regular insurance doesn't cover it. So if you're delivering flowers, for example, your regular car insurance doesn't cover you. If you're just driving to a customer or a client, that's fine. Then you're covered. If you're driving your car for hire, you're picking up passengers and driving to the airport and having them pay, your regular car insurance doesn't cover it. So that the same way, if you're doing business out of your home, and something happens with the business, like my piano teacher that has kids and parents coming into her home, her homeowner's insurance does not cover that. So she would need general liability insurance for her business.
So please explain. I do have general liability for my business, for the location that I serve people.
Okay.
Okay.
You're fine.
Okay, thank you. That's good.
It's usually a rider on your homeowner's policy or a rider on your car insurance policy. It's just they add a piece on. Or it can be a separate policy. It depends on the insurance company. Just the distinction is if you're using something to make money with, then it's part of the business.
And you said for LLC to separate everything, and I had 2 cell phones, and it got to be with a lot. So I just minimized to 1. How do I do my taxes to get, what is there like a percent? Well, I can percentage of how to use your cell phone as business and personal, or what do you recommend?
Well, let's back up and talk about why. With any business, you always want to keep the business finances separate from your personal finances. So if you have an LLC, you'd want to have a separate business bank account in the name of the LLC.
Yes.
And because all of the money that you make in the business goes into that business bank account and all the expenses get paid out of that business bank account, you and that business are separate. If you commingle the funds into, say, one checking account, then you really aren't separate. So you need to keep them separate. So the question is, how do you keep them separate? What I would do is I would decide on what portion of my cell phone was personal and what portion was business. And I would use an approximation for that, and I think you'd be fine. And then I would literally write 2 checks. I will write or pay the bill twice. Part of it would be paid through my personal account, part of it would be paid through my business account.
All
If your
right,
taxes-
that helps. I'm sorry,
Sorry.
say it again. I got excited.
Okay. So what you've got is you've got a receipt called a check or whatever it is, how you paid it in the business for the business use of that cell phone. And that's the portion that would be deductible for you.
Thank you.
But I would just absolutely check with your accountant to make sure that you're getting it right and the approximations are right and that you're doing everything that your tax accountant believes you should be doing.
All right, thank you.
All right, Cheryl has a question. Cheryl, go ahead.
Hi, I have been an S corp for 34 years now
Okay.
and retiring, but I'm still going to do I'm still working with my very first client, and they still want me to do some project work with them. So I'm going to still be doing that. And I'd like to transition from doing graphic design to going old school and painting again and get my hands dirty with that. I'm not sure if I should stay an S corp, just continue that and change it over from computer graphics to painting, or should I set up an LLC? I don't know the advantage, disadvantage of, part of me is saying the S corp, it's been so simple, so it hasn't been, other than a registration fee every year. There it's because I think the tax liability is about the same for the LLC as the S corp, right? Or pretty close.
Yes. The corporate veil protection is there, whether it's an S corp, a C corp, or an LLC.
Because any profit or loss goes on my personal taxes.
With both the S corp and the LLC. Yes, that's correct.
So do you see any advantage or disadvantage of staying an S corp?
There is no liability or tax advantage one way or the other.
Okay, so it would, if I was
actually, it's personal preference.
okay.
So if you wanted to have a separate business for some reason, and that reason might be that in the future you want to sell it, it would be easier to sell it if it were separate, whatever it was.
Right.
If you're doing two businesses out of the S corp, it's more difficult to untangle that if you wanted to sell it. But if you have no intention of ever selling it, or you could put everything under the S corp. If you decided you'd like to have a kind of a separate name for your painting business, you could register a doing business as a DBA. So you could do business as Cheryl's Painting Company under the umbrella of the S corporation.
All right, that sounds good. It's just been something I've been rolling around in my head. Should I do this? Should I not do this? And one little thing that's added to the works is about 12 years ago, there's a company in Chicago that incorporated under the same name as my corporation. So apparently they didn't do a very good search. And there has been a few times when it's confused some people. Like listing on Indeed, they had me as their CEO and their owner, and it was hard to get it, changed. But so I thought, well, maybe I'll just let them have it and I'll reincorporate as an LLC. But I'm thinking, do I want to go through that expense if I don't really have to?
What
So I think,
what you're describing is a situation that exists because corporations are registered in the state. They're not registered nationally.
Right.
So the state keeps records of who has that name, but they don't check other states. So theoretically, there could be 50 different companies in 50 different states that have exactly the same name, and 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 there's no way of stopping that or protecting yourself from that. It's one of the flaws in our system.
I didn't realize that because I was just wondering, because I thought when I incorporated all those years ago, I thought that my attorney also just checked with the IRS to see if anybody was listed as that.
Well, he may have.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I guess he was just more thorough,
Yes.
but
it's unlikely that the other attorney did that for this other company. So if it formed after you in the state of Illinois, they wouldn't check Ohio. They wouldn't even know to check in Ohio. I mean, there's 49 other states. Would I check 49 other states? I wouldn't.
right.
I mean, you could. You could pay a lawyer to do that. You could do it yourself. But that would be,
Yeah.
I would say, a significant piece of work. I wouldn't get it done in my coffee break.
Right. Well, now I'm thinking of going ahead and doing the DBA for the art side, come up with that name, and have it now, and then legally on every legal document, and I guess on business cards, I should have that it is a subdivision of the S Corp.
No, what you would say is an S corporation name doing business as the painting name, or DBA as the painting company doing business as.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's only a fraction of the services that SCORE provides. Thank you for setting me up for that. Oh, goodness.
So
Go ahead.
my question is, how does the DBA compare to the subsidiary?
When you go into the Secretary of State's website and you want to register a name, it will ask you, what do you want to register for? You could say an LLC, an S Corp, or a DBA. If you say you're registering as a DBA, it's going to ask you what's the name of the parent company. And then you would type in the S Corporation's name. Then it would ask you what's the DBA, and you would say Cheryl's Painting Company, and off you go.
So if it's an LLC, is it the same?
No, it isn't. If you have an LLC, you can also have a DBA. Yes, if that's the question.
Yes, it is.
Okay, right. The DBA can bolt underneath a C corporation or an S corporation or a LLC.
So a business card would have both those names on it like that.
Yes.
All right, everybody. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions?
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Al, anything else?
Nope, we're good to go.
All right, everybody. You'll get from me later on. You'll get hold on. I think we have a raised hand. It's not working. Oh, there it is.
Thank you, Jen.
And-
You're very welcome.
So later today, you're going to get an email from me with the slides and the recording for this. So, everybody have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.